last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Austin.
Boy, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Austin.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running.
For what?
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
And welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and it's so good to see all of you guys tonight. Hey Cinderella, hey Social Butterfly, it's good to see you, Show Poodles. Also Social Butterfly, I thought about the pool shoes, and he was definitely wearing some sort of a pool shoe in the sorry guys, my ear just kicked on. It's really humid today. But either way, when he was in the flamingo pool picture, right where he's floating in the flamingo, he's definitely wearing some sort of pool shoes. I agree. And it's so good to see Kathy Bartholomew and Michelle Passwork. And thank you so much for clicking the like button tonight. Hey Shadow. Hey Napa Nudge Father. Good to see you. Good to see all you guys. Hey Funtuski. Good evening. Thanks so much for being here, guys. It's good to be back up on live. So I've been off for a little while, and I've just been dealing with a little bit of personal issues. Of course, I didn't want anybody to think that my daughter is sick, but she's a family member, as I said before, of my good friends, right, that I consider family. Hey, Just Me, good to see you. And, you know, I had posted this kind of just letting you guys know what was going on. I'll take down this pesky banner. But yeah, so, and that's Lily, and she's going through it. They found out that she has leukemia. So they're fighting it aggressively. But, you know, that stuff's poison, in my opinion. Cancer can be really, really tough on adults even. But I've been just kind of researching, talking with family, and then just kind of doing behind the scenes, working on Sebastian Roger's case, of course, Lily and Jack, another cold case as well that I would like to mention perhaps tonight, but maybe even on tomorrow night's live. But then also just a quick update on Crystal McCroy Jones as well. So just kind of working behind the scenes still. Yes, Hope Floats, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Thank you, Hope Floats. Yeah, it's not my fur baby. I know you guys have probably heard him coughing that one time and like thinking, oh my goodness, is it, but no, it was not him. And then I also want to say thank you to Smiley Story, because I know that she was asking her community, and I know a lot of you all are in her community too, but for prayers and things like that. So I really appreciate everybody's kindness and just understanding, because it's just tough. I dealt with cancer with my mom. She passed away in 2006, and it was hard for an adult. So I just can't imagine a 2-year-old. And so we were just kind of trying to, research, put our brains together, kind of what you do in that situation when, that kind of thing happens. But either way, she is doing chemo, and she's, kids are resilient. And so we're just praying, and I appreciate your guys' prayers. So with Sebastian Roger's case, there were some really interesting videos put out by Hindsight, but I didn't get a chance to upload all of them. So, yeah, and the E's as well. Thanks, Hope Floats. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, any age either with kids. It's like, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, it's so hard to deal with, and it's just like, we know what's going to happen, but they really don't. Which I talked to some friends, and that's why I was kind of late tonight. So I appreciate everybody coming in, because they kind of helped me figure out a little bit and navigate through some things too. So that they've dealt with, childhood leukemia and stuff like that. So it just kind of helped me put things into better perspective, So, but yeah, so the yellow jacket guy, hey, Holly S, good to see you. The yellow jacket guy, he's always been on my brain. And, I mean, like I said, I think he's got an apartment up there. Let me see if I even have, because of this photo, right? And, our friend Carol had sent this to us. And then what I did is I went to the original footage where Dog had uploaded the video, right? And I had kind of did my own research to make sure that I could recreate this photograph. And I was able to recreate it. And I even slowed the video down to form, what I thought was possibly a video to begin with. But then I looked and I'm thinking, okay, it could be a picture coming into focus, right? So, but either way, it appears that this gentleman has a picture of Sebastian on his phone. And Hindsight did a video recently that caught my attention, because I believe what she's thinking is that there was a handoff of the cell phone, right? In the very beginning, when the Texas Roadhouse footage came out, I wanted to analyze every piece, right? And I know a lot of people were like that too. Hindsight is really, really great at this, right? So while she was analyzing a different piece, I was analyzing another piece of it, right? And so we got it in parts, and I think that's really important. I think the Texas Roadhouse footage is important. I really do. And hey, Sammy, good to see you. Yes, I know. I kept pushing the lives back, pushing them back and back. And so I'm sorry, Sammy, because it was just like information overload. And then also, well, like I said, the Lily and Jack case has also given me a lot of information to look at, right? And I don't want to act too hastily when I'm analyzing this case because it's still brand new. And I'm always just praying that we find them before we even have to worry about analyzing further. But, you know, I still want to be a little bit careful. I do have some dispatch audio. Hey, Baba Rose, that I'm hoping, let me make sure that even uploaded in here. But yeah, so I have a little bit of it, but Plunder went ahead and got a lot of it. And even some French, and she dubbed it in English too. And I did a post on that too, because I was working on that as well. But back to this yellow jacket guy or yellow coat, right? Hey, Anna Marie, good to see you. Oh, I missed you too, Baba Rose. I missed you guys so much. I mean, I love being up here, and it's just like every night I was like, oh, I need to get up there, but then it was like I wasn't prepared. And then before I knew it, it was like, you know, and then I also watched something on Netflix the one night, late night, when I couldn't sleep. And I wanted to tell you guys about that too, because of course, what do I do to get my mind off of true crime? I go and watch more true crime. So, but I'm going to tell you guys about that at the end there, because it was really interesting. And for those of you who have Netflix, it was a really good doc. Hey, Barb Hair, good to see you. Yeah, so yeah, Barb, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I did this photo and a video with it. I can link it in the description of tonight's video, just to make it easier to find. I really have to get a good playlist going and organize my channel. But basically, I slowed it all down and you can see it. Well, then hindsight takes this same, you know, the same Texas Roadhouse footage, but a different part of it. And it looks to me like he is definitely in his pockets quite a bit. Now, you know, those of us who wear hoodies and stuff like that, and then, you know, if you have a jacket over that, you're going to have extra pockets. But he definitely seemed like he could have, there definitely could have been a point in time where this handoff of a cell phone occurred. Right, because we still couldn't really decipher whether that was Sebastian walking or if that was Sebastian sitting in the booth. We still haven't deciphered that, you know, and it is really creepy to me, Barb. And I think that's why I keep his, you know, space in my brain, because I don't want to forget about him. Because why would anyone have a picture of Sebastian on their phone, especially a random guy at Texas Roadhouse, right? And I've always thought, why Texas Roadhouse? Because Chris Proudfoot has said on many occasions that Sebastian isn't a big fan of steak. You know, and if you're going out with your kiddo, or, you know, you're even, you know, your teenager, you're going to probably go to a place where you both like to eat the food. Or, you know, there's a lot of menu choices. Unless you're a person, like, I know that there's certain places where I get the same thing every time. You know, like if I go to Red Lobster, it's coconut shrimp. That's just my thing. But, well, and that's a lot of, that's true, Social Butterfly. Just trying to look at the background of the photo, and it may give some insight to where it was taken. It does appear that it could have been taken in the restaurant because, you know, it does have like a more rustic theme. And it does look like part of back of the booth, and you would have to kind of like pinch out and zoom in to actually see it. But I mean, I'm kind of up in the air. I can say I'm probably even 50-50 on this one to whether it's, you know, Sebastian walking out. But because I mean, I think it's very plausible there could have been a handoff of the phone. Oops, sorry. Oh, good, Sammy. Oh, good. I know, and I haven't even been on YouTube a whole lot. Like I said, I ended up going and looking on Netflix the one night after I was working on some, you know, some things. Because, like I said, Plunder, guys, you got to go over there just to listen to her insight, and then also She's the one that, her courtesy and credit goes to her for getting this dispatch audio. And like I said, I'm going to play a little bit of it tonight. But really, really well done, and just giving us, more concrete proof or evidence of what was going on, what happened there. So, well, and see, I don't know who this guy is. That was another thing too that I wanted to bring in, and we will do that. But Hindsight did another video too where she compared the faces, and we've done it here too, where we compared Richard Bishop, right, with Yellow Jacket, and this is kind of Richard Bishop there, right? But the nose is different, his ears are different, even his eyes are, in my opinion, more slanted than wide or circular. And I don't mean any disrespect. I have, almond-shaped eyes as well. And so maybe that's even a better way of putting it. But either way, I don't believe it is him. I just don't. And she did a really nice comparison where you can take a look at the features. Really important to take note of people's features, their nose, ears, etc. Richard Bishop in that picture had like an earring, so we're not quite sure who this Yellow Jacket guy is. I just know, hey Meg, good to see you. I just know that he has some kind of thanks Holly S, a real estate attorney, right, up in Pennsylvania. So it's just, I just don't see the comparison. Thank you, Meg, for being number 19. Thank you guys for smashing that like. I appreciate it so much. I don't know if YouTube kicked me off the algorithm or what. I was like, I need to make a short or something really quick. But no, I really want to get back up with you guys and talk about this because, like I said, I've been watching here and there, and then also just thinking about this Yellow Jacket guy. Really bugs me. I also did a little bit of research when it comes to the crawl spaces and what it means when they say it's a basement crawl space, which is not terribly fun, right? But I'm just trying to figure all of this out, and then, because I'm not good at this kind of stuff, and I'm like trying to kind of figure out how this could have all transpired in terms of, taking somebody through that route. And then what could have happened from there. And hey, couponing, good to see you. That one guy looks like the one with the expensive watch. Yeah, he does. They resemble each other, Aw, thanks, Meg. Aw, I've missed you guys so much too. I love talking true crime. You guys know I just love it. And you guys are so insightful too, because I'll come off of a live thinking something and I'll be like, gosh, that was such a good point, or, I didn't think of it like that, and now it makes me think like this. Howdy couponing. Social Butterfly says, so have a close-up of the Yellow Jacket face to look at specific features. So that's what Hindsight did. She did such a good job of it, and I wanted to pull it in. Like I said, I just haven't had time to pull everything together. But if you go over to her shorts, she has it over there. And I do want to examine it closer. I want to know who this Yellow Jacket guy is, obviously, because I do think that, it's just plain to see. You could even see Sebastian's Yoda t-shirt, on there. So, I'm so glad to see you too, couponing. But, you can see his t-shirt, in my opinion. So, and then also, was there a handoff? And I didn't know what you guys thought, because even at the beginning, people were saying, look, Katie's fiddling with another phone. And then I was like, how come she's wiping, like the butter, that they give you at the Texas Roadhouse for the rolls, like on her clothes, but she had a napkin. So I was like, oh no, she's just wiping the napkin, right? And so I wasn't even thinking that she was fiddling with another phone until I closely looked at the video again because of the comments, and again, that's what I mean when I say, I love talking with you guys because, I won't even be thinking or looking for something like that. And that one little detail somebody else catches that I didn't. And so then we start talking about it, right? So she very well could have been using a burner phone. We know that there are burner phones. That's just kind of part of it. Thanks, Social Butterfly. Yes, and like I said, I wanted to pull the clips in. We're definitely going to talk about it, because I've been just kind of working up some theories. And obviously it's just hypothesizing, to kind of figure out what's going on, entertainment purposes even. For us to kind of go over these scenarios. But well, and see, that's where I get hung up with it as well, Megs, because I'm trying to look at it like, okay, so how would it work out? And also that would debunk another theory. So yeah, exactly. She says, I've been wondering something, if the crawl space is being occupied possibly by Sebastian, who would have been the players at 3 a.m. and for what reason? Yeah. And the only reason why I spent a little bit more time on the crawl space theory was because it was said that the police don't have any evidence that Sebastian left the house, right? That there's evidence of the trash being taken out, but there's no evidence of him leaving the house. So then I think crawl space. And then I was thinking, the sewer ways and stuff, which they stuck cameras down in through there too. And that doesn't mean that, the areas that have been searched already are, check mark done, right? Because there could be something that was overlooked or missed. But yeah, it would absolutely, crush the 3 a.m. lights video, right? Which we all think is evidence. So yeah, because I am wondering if, they teach people how to carry people in different ways and things like that, but it would absolutely be tough getting around the fence, things like that. So when I think about that, was there a way that they could have, well, and then there also the plastic that was found was bothering me too, that we were talking about on a previous live too. So because heavy plastic, thick plastic, you're thinking maybe they're trying to mask something there. But it would definitely debunk it would be one or the other, one theory or the other, right? So I'm just trying to narrow it down too, because it's just, and then the same thing with this gentleman who has Sebastian on his phone, that would work with the 3 a.m. lights, because that would push it off onto somebody else, which, if there was others involved, it's been alleged that when there is an issue, that is the solution, to involve someone else and pay to get it taken care of, right? That's been alleged. So I'm thinking it's a strong possibility that this gentleman in the yellow coat, right, yellow jacket guy or coat, is part of it, right? Is part of what happened to Sebastian, and that would work with the 3 a.m. lights more so than Sebastian never leaving the house at all. So, hey, Chloe Jade. Hey, I saw your text, or I saw it pop in. See, Meg says, I honestly never thought he made it home from the Texas Roadhouse for a long time. It wasn't a possibility to me till the 3 a.m. video. Yeah, and that's another thing, because a lot of people do think that there was some sort of a handoff in between. And then maybe, like Lori's son took out the trash, or somebody else took out the trash. The video was grainy at best. It's from what it's been described to me. I have not obviously watched it, but yeah, a lot of people said that too, Kathy, that in your opinion, or in my opinion, it looks like the guy is sitting behind CP during court with BHB, but who knows? A lot of people said it resembled him. I agree. And it's so hard with the mask too, because we cannot see his jawline. We cannot see his lips. We cannot, decipher those little, nuances, right, of a person's features, whether they have that little part that dips down further or, whatever it is, bigger lips, smaller lips, thin, whatever. Those are important identifying features. So, yay. Oh, good to see you, Chloe. Thank you for being here. Good to see you, Ann Reynolds. Yes, I'm sorry, I texted you, Ann. Oh, hey, God TV Radio, the Brett Keane Show. Good to see you. Nice to have you here. So, but I don't know who this guy is. I would like to know, or even have somebody close, which we have had. Like I said, this guy's probably the closest, right? That we see here. And I even did this kind of because we saw what appeared to be a reflection in his glasses. So in the top photo, that's the bottom photo that's circled. That's just kind of me zooming in on this gentleman. He's still strange, right? He had the weird watch. We flipped it upside down. We found out it's a very expensive Rolex Submariner, I believe it was called. But again, it's just odd, right? And we had the lady Chrissy. She was going kind of bonkers on her Facebook page, and that's where I pulled that photo from. Hey, Don B, good to see you. Great to have you. And so what is she thinking on the no shoes thing? What about pool shoes? Well, yeah, and he very well could have been taken out in the pool shoes because those were not there, and I believe it was, about a week ago now, but or even on this last live that we did, but Seth was, did confirm that, Sebastian's backpack was there, and then the shoes that were named, and that we didn't hear anything. We do know about the slides, right? That Sebastian wore the slides. So, hey, little Renault, good to see you. Welcome to everybody coming in. Thanks for being here, guys. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, the whole no shoes thing. Yeah, the glasses is weird. Social Butterfly, the glasses is weird. It looks like there's a reflection off of the TV or something, or maybe a computer screen where he's watching possibly the Texas Roadhouse video, some sort of footage of Sebastian. It really could be anything, and we've all covered it so extensively, so it could have been somebody's YouTube channel even. Sometimes super crazy people tell a lot of the truth. That's true, Holly, and you just gotta get them in the right mood, right? Sometimes if they get angry, they will say truthful, they'll make a mistake and be truthful. Yeah, it's very hard with the mask, Kathy. I agree. It is. It's just like, I don't know. It's bizarre. And he's obviously like wearing layers, right? A lot of pockets. And that's another thing that hindsight shows in her video, right? He's got like the hoodie where there's kind of like the pouch, up front. And he's fiddling around in there, right? And it almost looks like he tucks something into his sleeve, right? It's just, and again, we don't see him grabbing anything to DoorDash. We don't even see him grabbing personal food, that sort of thing. So, hey, Mickey Shell, good to see you. Yes, thanks, Loretto. Yeah, we're just kind of talking. I mean, I thought hindsight did a really great job of kind of analyzing more pieces of this yellow jacket guy because I haven't forgot about him. I just kind of put him kind of in with the 3 a.m. lights, honestly, as maybe a possible getaway driver, perhaps. Um, well, Little Red O, and I didn't go on at a very, like, I went live like 10 minutes before I said I was going to. I meant to do it earlier and then I didn't. So, um, there is a bit of truth in every lie. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because our brains really want to tell the truth, That's why a lot of times, it'll cause weird reactions or actions, like sticking your tongue out or, licking your lips and things like that. And that's why I was thinking that, like, I mean, because we even saw it in Don Wells's interviews where his lips were like, I don't know if there was Carmex or chapstick or whatever, or maybe it was something that they didn't particularly like the taste of or something, because I mean, it was heavy on their lips, and almost to the point of like a glossy effect. So oh, I'm glad you're here, Anne. And Kathy says, or Kathy says, left my DNA in case I come up missing in Mississippi. Oh my goodness, Kathy, that's funny. Oh no, don't say that, guys. You guys would kill me. That's like Meg the other night. I'm like, no, I don't want to have to come looking for you guys. Um, Don B says, so police must be really clueless on the lights video. I thought we'd get a vehicle description or something if relevant. Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of people were saying that too with the Amber Alert, that there should have been, a vehicle that was released, right? Just a description, something to help us identify, even if there wasn't, like a license plate number or anything, just some identifier for the vehicle. And, we kind of speculated. I think it probably is maybe like a gray sedan. It sounds pretty close. And I'm sure a lot of neighbors can recall it. And I'm sure it was picked up on other people's surveillance. I would hope so at least. But it's just, and like I said before, I think I'm more so thinking, hey, Momming It Up, good to see you. I'm more so thinking that excuse me, that the 3 a.m. lights video is very important. I think it's one of the bigger pieces of evidence. I think that's why they're so hush hush about it. They don't want us talking about it. They just don't. Law enforcement, and that's fair. I don't think they really anticipated it getting out. But I think it's the same thing with the Texas Roadhouse video. I think that is a really important piece of evidence. I mean, a lot of people still think the green hoodie could have been something, right? So it's very possible. There were a lot of strange people kind of milling around the restaurant too that weren't buying anything. It was very, that part was odd. Yeah, I think so too, Meg. Yeah. I have a feeling, unfortunately, that they're going to just hold on to information in the case, keep it open and do nothing so nobody else can do anything. Well, and that's the thing. You can't even get like a FOIA for it, right? If it's an open investigation, and that's, another thing that even our friend Jana with her sister Crystal McCrory Jones's case, right? It's the same thing. If it's open, then they can't get any information. It's kind of sits open, right? It's okay if people are looking at it fresh every day, or they have people on it, but we know that's not the case. So hey, Tanya. Tanya says, in my opinion, in one of the videos that Dog released at the Texas Roadhouse, it looks like a man is getting in the driver's seat of Katie's car with SWDR, and Katie walks toward the door. I don't know. It could be, well, and I don't know. The thing is there were a couple of vehicles that looked pretty close, right? And it almost looked like Sebastian was going to go to that vehicle, and so did Katie. And then they changed it, where they were going, or their trajectory. They changed that and went around the ashtray. You know how they have like the big stationary ashtrays. Went around of that when the original path was going to go, go between, Katie and the ashtray. Sebastian ended up going around then. They changed their path. And then, of course, we saw Sebastian watching the green hoodie like a hawk. And it could have just been that it was someone that was too close to his mom. And I can understand that, right? Because he's a boy, he's a teenager, he's looking, hey, Salty Gigi, good to see you. Um, and he's watching out for his mama, she's over there and he's like, wait a minute, who's this person? Because it's odd that the green hoodie walks in between the vehicles, right? Because there's a whole open area on the other side that she could have walked from. And it's odd that she came from the bushes, right? It's just all strange, Um, so it's just a weird scene. Um, Meg says you can't FOIA, you can't call in the cold case and they won't turn it over to the FBI. Right, right. And even in Sebastian's case, the FBI did the flyer, right? The one that's behind me. They did that at the 6-month mark, right? And they put the reward up for $50,000. But it's still under the jurisdiction of Sumner County. They have not given over jurisdiction. So, yeah, we need more noise in the case, Holly, for sure. For sure. We need more billboards, right? We need some fresh sayings on the billboards. Those billboards are great. And, it just makes people think. And even if it makes people think, what could have happened to this child? Oh, my goodness. Because maybe the one that says, you lied and I cried, people are going to think about that and who made this child cry and who lied and what does that mean? Really powerful, in my opinion. Just thought provoking. And that's what we need in cases like this, so they don't go cold, or it's not a situation where people don't know about it, right? They're not aware. Tanya says, I've watched that video about 25 times, but no one else seems to see it. Well, and it is difficult because you are trying to convey something, right? And show somebody something. Even sometimes people are like, hey, I don't see Sebastian, in this photo, at all. Lady Freedom, I can't see it very well. And I understand that, right? And in this one, of course, you'd probably have to pinch in to kind of zoom in to look at it. Either way, but I mean, even when we're very, very close up, and I have the video too that kind of shows it coming into focus. I'll link that video too in the description. But just, we're all going to perceive things differently, right? I mean, it's also, like the 3 a.m. lights picture that I had enhanced. And, this is also Limelight Girl, right? She did this as well. Hers is the one that looks more purple, but it's just up for interpretation, right? We're looking at it and we can see figures in it and we can make out what we think. Another good example of this is the one that they had on America's Most Wanted the other night. Totally unrelated, right? But I mean, look, it's a grainy photo, but we're trying to make an identification, right? That's all we have. That's what we're working with, right? So, but it's interesting, and it's something that we can kind of mull over and just kind of see if we can come up with anything. And Tanya says, as Sebastian gets in the car, a second later, the driver's door opens and it looks like a man's face, but no one else sees it, but I do, plain as day. And that one is after Sebastian's getting in the car. On the Texas Roadhouse video. I'll have to go back and look at that. I mean, I haven't nowhere near analyzed every piece of that video. I think it's important too. We even looked at a picture that looks a lot like Chris, right? And then, a couple days later, I'm like, no, it's definitely not him, because I saw another picture of the person in question and I said, okay, no, that can't be him. But again, it's just, I mean, looking at different pieces of it doesn't hurt. Yeah, they need to be louder. I think Meg too. Yeah, I know they release stuff, and I should probably be a little bit better about getting that stuff out, and sharing it on my page. Sammy says I'd ask about those things because I was able to really enhance part of Hindsight's video, and to me it really looks like there are shoes, and positive KP has an over-the-shoulder bag. See, I was thinking that she might have had something in her purse, but I couldn't see a bag either, Sammy. I was looking for that too. Originally, I thought that her purse or her bag would have been like in between herself and the booth, but I didn't see a bag. So I have to look for over-the-shoulder bag. Sam. Well, I agree, Michelle. That's so true. I find it strange for parents who have said they don't want Sebastian forgotten. They're doing a bang-up job helping everybody do it. Well, and we're not going to do that here. You know, I think there's still a lot to explore. And even some of the statements that have been made, we haven't even went over here. So I think there's a lot to talk about. I think you know, other aspects of it, like the drama and stuff, kind of does overshadow some of it. And I think it's just important to keep on analyzing the facts that we have, right? Stuff that we can see with our own two eyes. I mean, even when we look at the interaction at the Texas Roadhouse, we see things that we didn't know before, right? We're taking it all in, even though there's no sound, even though we can only see facial expressions from Sebastian. We can definitely take in and interpret what we perceive to be happening there, right? Katie's body language comes into play when we see the fork, right? And the, head going back and forth and the fork. She looks like she's telling him something, right? More of like, for him to obey rather than telling him something just in a very, normal or matter-of-fact fashion. She's telling him, this is how it's going to be. In my opinion, that's what I take in from it. But we're all welcome to have our own opinions. Funtuski says, I feel the same, I feel that some agency would have a list of schools and campuses the parents send their unruly children to. I keep going back to a black ops extraction. In my opinion, they always do extractions during the night. I agree with that, Funtuski, and it's because of the TV show. TV show. It was a documentary called The Program on Netflix, and Megan Els was the one that recommended it to us all, right? And it's about a school, and that's exactly what they do. And even to this day, you can call these unruly children's homes and, schools and things like that. And that is how they do it, right? That is part of the way that they do extract these children from their homes. They're disoriented a lot of the times. They take nothing with them, right, at all. And then they proceed to kind of devalue and dehumanize the child and make them feel awful, right? Break them down to build them up, sort of a thing. So I don't take that lightly, because I mean, we saw even with Paris Hilton, right? Her parents called them in. They grabbed her out of her bed at night. She recounted it. So it happens, all over. And especially if you have the money to facilitate this, I won't put it past, I wouldn't put it past them, because they were looking into schools and things like that, right? These schools are very, very dark-hearted, and they have very skewed views on, how to kind of do right by the kids, even if they do have behavioral problems. And a lot of times there is a high rate of abuse that goes on in these facilities. And I could even see something happening within the first couple of days, and there being an accident, especially with Sebastian's the pocket of fluid on his brain. He doesn't have a head injury. But if he did get a head injury because of the pocket of fluid, or to the pocket of fluid, rather. I mean, who's to say that, this is a cover up for that, right? Um, because, I mean, if you see even the program, even this one documentary, they found actual video footage from the facility, um, surveillance, and the way that they were roughhousing these children is enough to make you sick. I mean, they were really beating on them bad. Um, so yeah, even the camps, or the camps that, absolutely. I think Unsolved Mysteries should be contacted in this case too. They just found a little girl that went missing 25 years ago. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more exposure that and more people that we can get it out to. I just noticed that too on Netflix, the Unsolved Mysteries, and I didn't even go and watch it. I did watch this. I took a screenshot just to show you guys. It is A Deadly American Marriage, right? And it's about a nanny or au pair that was hired by this gentleman, right? He had two really cute little kiddos, and he had lost his wife, and he marries his au pair, right? The lady that was taking care of his kids, and they end up moving to America, and then something happens. So I don't want to give it away, but it's just kind of a recommendation that I wanted to share with you guys, because it's very interesting. And the case was settled up back in 2023 when it was all said and done. But it was, a big deal, especially because the children were Irish citizens, right? And so it kind of gets into that a little bit, but it's quite controversial. It is very unbiased, which I liked, because you get to hear both sides of the story, and then you can kind of make up your own mind about what you think of the documentary. But it's good. Hey, Mom Marisa. It's good stuff, and I wanted to recommend it to you guys if you have Netflix. Social Butterfly says, okay, what about the BP servo same night where the other SUV pulls up next to Katie and the man gets out and talks to her through the driver window? I do remember seeing that, Social Butterfly, and I wish we had some footage of that, but I do remember. I can't remember who actually covered that piece. I mean, anything's possible, but I know she also had that Life 360 app, right? And she said she had like the advanced version or whatever. Yeah, it did, Tanya. It did. It's also strange. It looked like KP's mother-in-law's car. Yeah, right beside hers. I agree. And it's also weird that it appears that Sebastian and Katie are wearing very similar, which I thought they were this exact same pair, but they weren't. It turns out they're very, very, very similar style of tennis shoe. A thick, a thick sole, and then, like a blue or black, a dark blue or black shoe. Oh yeah, Miss Anna, I think they should have billboards everywhere. Yeah, Paris Hilton's documentary was really good, Sammy. Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't say like that's hot. Like she uses her regular voice. Really well done. But it did, yeah, it happened to her, and it played a huge role in who she became, and she uses her voice, yeah, in the doc. Yeah, and she's also, tried to bring light to it, because a lot of people don't realize that would ever happen, ever. So I do remember seeing another face in the vehicle, the one right beside. Yeah, a Texas Roadhouse. Absolutely, Social Butterfly. I saw that as well. Yeah, we all need to look at everything. Exactly, Meg. We do. Don V says, rumor has it Don and Candace are not driving the Subaru, so police can't see them talk on the uh, infotainment system. Oh, really? See, I didn't hear that, Don. Yeah, and I still want to go over Hunter's interview. That's one of the things that I'm really wanting to focus on too one of these nights here coming up, because it's really insightful, but I would like to kind of compare it a little bit with Candace's statements. So it's going to take me a little longer to put together, but I think it's going to be interesting, just to hear what Hunter has to say, because it is different and they do have differences in their stories. And then, of course, you guys all know that I think that, Candace was grooming poor Hunter, or at the very least getting the kid, vapes and giving him booze. And it's like, what are you thinking, Candace? What's wrong with you, Um, I mean, who does, like, what mom does that, I mean, it's weird. And then his mom's pretty much, like, didn't even care if she did give him a vape, it seemed like, anyway. Because Mr. McDonough is like, hey, buddy, we're not going to vape anymore, right, Hunter? And Hunter's just like, no, sir, or whatever, and then, like, the mom's just like, he's like, right, mom? And she's just sitting there like, yeah, whatever. So that, he wasn't well supervised, but he does have a lot to say. And, I think I believe him more than I believe Candace any day, No, I don't think it was normal at all, Holly S. That night at the Texas Roadhouse was not normal, in my opinion. No. Mm-mm. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. And, it's just weird that they even went there, in my opinion. Oh, yes, Mama Marisa, I have been. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just wondering, when are they going to, do something? Because I see it, and it's amazing to me that it hasn't been, well, and maybe it has been, we just don't know, but I mean, thoroughly investigated, and who in the world is this guy in the yellow jacket, Hey, Billy B for you. Good to see you. Aw, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, that is amazing, Holly S. Found her after 25 years, And we just never know. I mean, that could happen in any of these cases. In any single one of them, And that's why I'm kind of hesitant to speculate too much on Lily and Jack. But as I said before, we have a lot of good people covering. Plunder is doing a great job with the audio, and really sticking to the facts and things like that. But definitely check this out, guys. A Deadly American Marriage on Netflix. You will not be sorry. Just really interesting. And I'd like to do a little more research on that case and maybe bring it to you guys off of Netflix, because it was very, very, very interesting. A lot of different elements, and especially the elements that we talk about here on the show: domestic violence, just child custody, how that works, the appeals system within the courts is another thing that I find pretty fascinating, especially in a case like this, as we would see. But I definitely would like to talk about that case one night. See, I thought I heard something about that, Funtuski, about the wreck in the vehicle. So what vehicle are they driving now? Heard a rumor that the boys are now living out of state. Yeah, and I also heard some people trying to say, like, oh, that the boys, something about how there was a reason why they like, the boys might be coming back or something. Somebody said that, and I was just like, what in the world are they talking Um, Max, Sammy's one of those people that says the things I want to say. We love Sammy. Well, and see, I don't get that, Mama Marisa. I do not, because I just have this feeling about it, and I know, but it's also what we kind of see, because again, if you've ever kind of worked at a restaurant, especially a busy restaurant like that, yes, you will have bar patrons, right? You're going to have people that really would prefer that atmosphere and like to go and sit and, have a couple glasses of wine at the bar, eat something, right? Or even if they just meet for a drink and, a quick whatever, a business meeting, something, or after work, a drink. But you just don't see this many people like meandering around, no real intention of eating or drinking anything, and you're in a restaurant. It's strange. And then people coming out of the bushes and, you know, close encounters that don't need to happen, like the green hoodie even. Um, but I can't believe that Mom Marisa says there are people that will not even entertain the Texas Roadhouse video, but we know what we see. I mean, and that's just what it comes down to too. And I don't know why it's being ignored. It may be because it's very strong evidence, to what we think it is as well. And they just don't want it really to be told heads or tails, or, made heads or tails of, rather. Yeah, and, and I do think people are good at lip reading. It does make it difficult when we cannot see Katie and, her facial expressions even. I think I'm not a lip reader, but I think I'm better at reading someone's facial expressions. But anything can be helpful, right? Especially if we don't have sound, you know? Oh my goodness, she went missing when she was 7, Meg. My goodness. The Aylin School Survivors is an amazing, crazy rabbit hole. Okay, Holly S. And I still want to entertain that notion, because it could be in that theory, because it is up there, even with like something happened and it was accidental, because, I do tend to think that this situation was premeditated, in my opinion. But I also keep, small theories in mind as well. And it could be a big theory and I'm just missing it, right? And I think that my big theory is wrong, but or incorrect, but thanks, Social Butterfly. Well, and that's it too, John. John, you're right. Like we could say he was just taken. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But and another thing, too, that's really been bothering me, and I've said it before, on the last live, they cut out the end of that lights video for America's Most Wanted, so people don't know, that have only saw Sebastian's case from America's Most Wanted, that portion was cut out of the lights video of somebody going back to, the Proudfoot residence, in my opinion, or at least back from where they came from, you know. Mama Marisa says the phone in Yellowcoat's hand looks just like the phone Katie has on the table. Yeah, we think there was a handoff of the phone at the door inside the Texas Roadhouse. I think that's a strong, strong possibility, right? Because I was always wondering, was that being sent to his phone? But I remember Hindsight's video where the comparison was made from the photos that were taken at the table and then also with the phone outside. Right. And we did discuss that comparison, and it was really well done. You could see. And again, I know people were like, Katie was fiddling with the phone. And I was like, no, it was just her napkin. She was just wiping her lap. And then they're like, no. And people were still talking about it. And then there were new comments coming in. I'm like, okay, let me go look again. And then I do see a flicker of the light, right? That you can see her fiddling with the phone and then also taking it up, and she kind of holds it steady on her hand, snaps the pictures. They came out at the exact same time, right? And there's a lapse in video footage because it's like in the kind of doorways, right? Because a lot of times when you go into a restaurant like that, there's the first set of doors you go in, and there's kind of a little foyer area, and then you go into the next set of doors, and that's where the hostess, station or whoever's seating, or it says please be seated, depending on what kind of restaurant you're at. But absolutely, yeah, yeah, I can definitely see there being a handoff in the doorway, because we don't know what happened in the doorway, and they certainly went out at the same time, which again is odd, because we also see that, again, another part that hindsight broke down, watching Sebastian's facial expressions as he's being told something to Katie. He is looking over toward where the yellow jacket guy is, right? So it's also makes us pause and wonder, was the conversation pointing towards the yellow jacket guy? Did Sebastian know that person? Did they discuss Sebastian going with this person? It's all relevant, in my opinion, to go over, because especially at this point when we don't know. Yeah, was it? I was gonna say, was it the one? Was it the one, and where she was telling him, and then he looked over toward the yellow coat? Was it that one? Hey, Carla, good to see you. Lil Redo says, I believe that she passed the phone to Yellow Jacket when they passed each other. Yeah, see, and it could have very well happened then, because he was messing around in his pockets, right? He had like the pouch, right, and then he had the yellow jacket over, right, which also had pockets, and he was just like messing in all of his pockets. And then you see things like almost by his sleeve. Again, he could have been tucking something into his sleeve, and then he was also, had the sleeve over his hand and was hitting the buttons and stuff like that. Just very odd behavior at the very, very least. Yeah, and thank you so much, Mama Risa. Thank you so, so much for that. I think it's so important to analyze these details and not get caught up in all of this other, bit of nonsense, right? Let's look at what we have. It's so important. And you guys have done a great job of breaking everything down. I mean, and really, helping me to put into perspective, because I wasn't paying attention to the other things that you all were breaking down. So it's great to, to have that too. We need to work together. Hey, Sasha, good to see you. Yeah, hopeful. It's hard. Well, exactly, Don B. When they're sedated, they can be taken, given away, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's a scary thought, but I mean, the medications were changed over right before that. We know that, Sebastian wasn't always taking them either, it is a sad world we live in. It is. It is. And especially with all these beautiful kids, we're like, what is going on with them, right? They don't just, levitate out the house. They don't, we know that, well, I mean, I know arguably we could say a UFO, possibly, fire in the sky or whatever. Sure. But reality, really, we know that they don't just poof, go, well, they're gone, thank God for that. But, Sasha says, I finished my consensus on the Rogers case, and I don't believe Sebastian ever left the home. Sasha, we were talking about that earlier too, because I was, we were kind of weighing out the theories, and I'm like, the 3 a.m. lights video wouldn't really be necessary, right? If I didn't think Sebastian left the house or that he was brought out. But, law enforcement did say that they didn't have any evidence or any reason to believe that he did leave the house, right? So that was, I mean, that kind of brings me back a little bit, right? Which makes it difficult. Suzanne says, hey, Suzanne. Suzanne says, has it ever been said where Sebastian's cell phone was at? Sitting on the counter, plugged in at the counter. So I'm guessing because he didn't have it with him. And then that was where it was And the odd thing is too, there, Suzanne, I've heard that Sebastian used his cell phone as like an alarm for, I use my cell phone for as an alarm. But he did do that. So I mean, if it was plugged in, that's odd. I would think it'd be plugged in by his bedside table, or if he ran away, obviously he would have brought it with him. Um, And Sammy says at the Texas Roadhouse, she had a bag underneath her sweatshirt and her hip, and it's got like a Winnie the Pooh face or something keychain on the hook. I don't believe that to be the same. Okay, I'm gonna have to look for that. A Pooh Bear keychain over shoulder bag. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so underneath her sweatshirt. It's weird that the SUV, like KP at the servo and the SUV at Ford's Pond. Yeah, and I know who else was talking. I know that there were a few talking about Ford Pond. Also, that Katie's green heart tattoo that we saw at the year mark for Sebastian's disappearance, that it resembles Ford's Pond. I definitely heard that, Social Butterfly. Yeah, and I didn't know that there was this SUV that was spotted there, though, so that's interesting. The shoulder bag has on her rear, and she's bent down in the picture you just showed enhanced. In this one, Sammy. Thanks, Don B. In the crawl space, I know, Sasha. See, that's what I was saying. I mean, if he never came out, I was also doing some research on the crawl space. I've been trying, because I was like, well, that would alleviate the fence, right? If he's still in there. That's how they got around the fence, because I've been wondering that, I have. I believe the swimming hole was a ruse. I think so. Yeah. I go to the swimming hole from time to time. Some shady people still go there. Yeah, that was a big red flag too, Don B. I agree. Just kind of, what was going on down by the swimming hole and, why they would go down there. It's like, and then also Side-Eye and Candace, like, are you taking that poor kid down there to get him drunk? Like, what are you doing? That's weird. Good question, Mama Marisa. If Yellowcoat isn't involved, why hasn't he come forward to say so? I mean, I have to agree there. I mean, and another thing is, like, who is this guy? And what was he doing there? There's no reason for him to do, and why is Sebastian on your phone, Oh, yeah. Okay. Kathy says, in my opinion, from what another creator posted, USM's guidelines, only LE can ask them to come in. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, it's still under, their jurisdiction until they invite other entities in or hand it over. Absolutely. Clearing the scratch up on Daniel. It's a scar. It's been there several years. Thanks, Sasha. Yeah, we're gonna actually switch gears a little bit and talk about Lily and Jack. Lily and Jack. Maman says, to me, it looks like Katie stopped Sebastian from going where Green Hoodie is, and not him stopping. I agree, Maman. I think Sebastian was definitely going one way, and then all of a sudden he changed that trajectory, right? Because Katie guided him in that direction, right? Stopped him, yeah, absolutely. And that's when Green Hoodie emerges, right? And instead of going around, goes right in between of Katie's vehicle. Carla says the lights video it's time for them to come out and say what it is and make a statement. They don't want to leak evidence, but the world knows what it is. Yeah, quit looking like complete idiots and admit it. Well, and that's the thing. It makes the speculation rise up, right? Because we're trying to fill in the blanks. And it's difficult. And I agree. I think they need to say something about it. But I think that it may be, a really crucial piece of evidence, in my opinion. And nobody, they just don't want to give up, the cards in their hand, right? So I do think that is a big reason for it. Yeah, I didn't know that, Sasha, that a lot of channels are focused on the scratch. Yeah. Um, I'm still trying to decipher really what is going on with the dispatch audio. I'm trying to gather more insight onto, what the local authorities are saying. I know they switched up the search, right, where they scaled back, and then all of a sudden you see them back in full force when it comes to Jack and Lily Sullivan. Those woods are so dense. It's so densely wooded in that area that I think that multiple searches are necessary in a grid format to make sure that they're not missing anything, in my opinion. I'm not saying that that's something that is easy to do, or that my recommendations are the best, because they're not. But that's what I would think it would take to really comb through, so to speak. So Tanya says, seeing how there's no car was listed on the Amber Alert makes me think they know who and what the car is. I don't know, though. Well, and they may not have wanted to tip people off, but again, it is odd, and especially at this juncture. Tell us what vehicle you think was in the area. Again, it does, I have to agree with Carla. It's frustrating. It just really is. I agree with this too, Carla. Sumner County needs to release Seth as a suspect for starters, so he can get one of these good missing children expert groups in here. If they can't do that, then 100% they are protecting the proud feet. I mean, that would be a reasonable conclusion, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, Carla. Social Butterfly says, in my opinion, LE ain't coming out because criminal investigation also can mean a wider expertise, a wider enterprise, involved with Sebastian, i.e. example, like family, friends, relatives, etc. I honestly think, and I have, said for a really long time, that there are more people involved than just Chris and Katie. Absolutely. Whether they paid people, whether they, but we know that the proud feet, in my opinion, and this has been alleged from people who actually have dealt with them and know them, that they do bring in helpers and people to do dirty work for them, right? And, they have been alleged to have been paid for these services. Yeah, Mom, and thank you. It's very odd behavior, in my opinion. I worked at Applebee's, and people didn't come hang out ever, in my opinion. I agree. Texas Roadhouse is definitely important to me. Thanks, Mom. And yeah, I mean, and even just restaurants in general, you just don't see a lot of that kind of meandering, because even as a bartender, you only have so many bar stools. You only have so many tables as a server, I should say. Just to be fair, because I know guys do bartending and serving too. But it's like, so you want to turn your tables, right? Because you only have, a certain amount of time to make a certain amount of money in that respect, right? So if people are having appetizers, drinks, you're wanting to get them taken care of, and turn tables is what we call it, right? And, you just don't see a lot of people that are odd or out of place coming in and not ordering food. Waiting around, yes, and then getting their food, of course. But whoever orchestrated this, in my opinion, didn't even consider that small little factor of, hey, it'll look good on camera if I at least walk away with a bag of food, because they don't, in my opinion. Or we've yet to see that portion of the footage. Mom Ended Up says, I respect others, but if it's authentic and I can't imagine that it isn't, then it's just odd to me. Yeah, how many think it's nothing? I think it's really odd as well. Yeah, because and how many people do think it's nothing is concerning to me as well. Because you know, even opinions being formed one way or another in the court system is like beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So if we just kind of keep that in mind and we're thinking about that, um, it's going to have to be authentic for it to be beyond a reasonable doubt, right? It's going to have to be, um, it's going to have to make sense. It's going to have to add up, right? And the only thing that does that is the truth, in my opinion. For it to even make sense to a jury. And I heard that Sebastian was cranky and strike and spare. Yeah. And, or excuse me, that KP was cranky and strike and spare. But I also heard that Sebastian may have been a little bit upset about Leak, and they were supposed to have gone bowling and not done the arcade. And maybe that change of plans could have caused a little bit of a riff, right? But, again, Katie, knowing Sebastian, it's not like Katie is his babysitter, right? Or someone who's not used to dealing with him. That's his mom. And so, you would think that she would kind of prepare herself a little bit for those things to happen, right? Because it's difficult for someone on the spectrum to kind of have their day interrupted and what their expectations for the day were going to be, right? Because they do like things to be predictable and regimented in order and things like that. And so if in Sebastian's mind, and this is all allegedly in my opinion, but in his mind, if they were going to go bowling and that didn't work out the way that he had planned it to work out, that could have caused him to have anxiety and and to be upset, right? Because it didn't meet the day's expectations. But again, Katie should have been able to kind of roll with that a little bit more easily, especially with Sebastian's age. And, they didn't leave the bowling alley. They still, did the arcade. So maybe that was a concession and, it was well received. But I did hear that there was some goings on at Strike and Spare. Yeah. And that Katie was cranky. She seemed cranky to me in the Roadhouse. I mean, Sebastian was in there politely walking with his mother. He points towards the point of sale system, that's on the tables. And, she just pushes the menu at him and they don't really even talk. So, yeah, Jody Hillebrand, right. Yeah. Funtuski of Utah wanted, along with Ruby Frank, to open a behavioral camp. They knew there was money involved, in my opinion. Oh, absolutely. And then in all of their little harebrained ways of, disciplining children and, oh, you'll just have the best kids ever, and all of this. And I do agree with that because they were indoctrinating people into their kind of skewed view, in my opinion, of parenting or behavioral programs, like you said. That's a great point, Funtuski. Thank you. Hey, Trishy, good to see you. And in my opinion, Social Butterfly says, such a coincidence too, KP's Apple Watch goes missing. Well, yeah, and we didn't see it again till she was out at the Mexican restaurant with Faith, right? Around June of last year. So that's when I saw her back, sporting an Apple Watch. I don't know if it was the Apple Watch, right? But yeah, great point, Social Butterfly, for sure. And Carlos is exactly momming it up. They don't happen, or that don't happen at any restaurant. People go there to get food and drinks, not to use the restroom and hang out outside. That's another thing too, Carla. That's a great point, because that's what Green Hoodie did. She just went in, used the restroom, and left. And it's you just don't see a lot of that, right? Because especially in a heavily populated area like that, there's a gas station, right? Or something to that effect that can be used for that purpose. I agree. Yeah. Tanya says, in my opinion, definitely believe it's SWDR on the phone. That yellow coat is holding. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too, Tanya. I do. You know, and that's why it bothers me so much. Well, and that's one thing we didn't see a whole lot of either, Sasha. Yeah, with Lily and Jack's family at least. First rule of thumb: who inserts themselves in the case. Dubs did a bizarre video, and then Bus Driver did a news interview. KP and CB constantly did YouTube interviews. Right, I agree. I agree. You know, we have not asked him in here, and I cannot recall. I know that we did a show about the Apple Watch, right? We did a show about that. Just basically if it was bright enough to illuminate, you know, an outside, because some people were alleging that it could have been, the light sources could have been Apple watches or an Apple Watch for, you know, maybe Katie. And they do give off quite a bit of light, but I don't believe that Seth weighed in with us there. Bathroom at the Texas Roadhouse. I don't know for sure. I know Sebastian does. He does get up and use the restroom. But to my knowledge, Katie does not. Maman says, I think he was leaving them on, and then Katie said no for some reason, and something transpired after somehow. Yeah, that's really interesting, Maman. Yeah. And that really could have been. I mean, his whole facial expression changed. Sasha says Richard Allen went out of his way to let someone know he was at the Monin the day. They just ignored him. Yeah, oh gosh, that's a whole nother can of worms, Sasha. Michelle says, I wonder if KP had a step counter on her phone. It would show steps in a timeline for that night, which also could show on her Apple Watch. Well, and she was supposedly, she stated to Heather Cohen that she did have the Life 360, you know, advanced, you know, app and things like that. So I think that also shows those types of things, if I'm not mistaken. He does have masks on his hand, Mom, and yeah, you can kind of see them. And it's like he has multiple things like in his pockets, right? And even up his sleeve, which is strange because, I mean, you're really trying to conceal things when you put things up your sleeve like that and, you know, into your sleeve and things like that, right? They did try to, I mean, I was under the impression, Funtuski, and I'm not sure if it was said or specified, but I was under the impression that he was just a DoorDasher, really didn't pay him any mind, but I do believe it was alleged, you know, but it could, I think he could have been the head person who organized it. I do, or I think he can be one of the main people that were, you know, meant to be a large part of it. You know, because why else would he have Sebastian's information on his phone, you know? So it's just crazy. It does. It does, Trishy. I think, yeah, you guys are talking about the pink sweater lady, for lack of a better way to describe her. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Good to see you. Aw, so nice to have you. Mom says, Sasha, I have said stuff for months about someone I think is a third party with guilty knowledge, and it's shocking how hard it is for people to listen. Wouldn't surprise me if that happens here, even in my opinion. I mean, you know, in the case of Richard Allen, I think that there were a lot of other working members of everything, and I do think he could have had it pinned on him. And I mean, I can definitely see that happening as well, Mom, and I can definitely. Tanya says they talked about L.E. breaking down the door. Oh, good, Mama Risa. I'll be looking out for it. I keep my notifications on, so absolutely. Or just email me a link, and I will go right to it if I miss it. Hey, Seashell, good to see you. Good to see you. You know, I find it to be really odd myself, Carla. It's not normal for the police to never have a report on Sebastian's case. The normal Ellie would report that a suspect car was in the neighborhood and a couple of people caught on camera walking away. I agree, and I think their silence is cause for concern, in my opinion, Carla. I do. Thank you, Seashell. Thank you so very much. Thank you. I said it kind of in the beginning of the show, but gosh, she's doing good with even just the rounds of chemo and stuff like that. So thank you so much for your prayers. I really appreciate you. And I'll let you guys know. Hey, Town Chat Cafe, good to see you. But you guys are just so awesome. Just so awesome. Tanya says KP's relative that must have had a reason to believe Sebastian was there. That's interesting, Tanya. Well, I wonder that too, Meg. I wonder that too. And especially because, like, Katie was on her cell phone. And, I would think if they were just doing, like, a night where it's like, hey, we're not going to do our cell phones, and they both wouldn't be doing them, right? Unless he was, like, in trouble or grounded from it. Which, unfortunately, we know that Sebastian has always seemed to be grounded or in trouble, In my opinion, the handoff was at the servo before he came home. That's just my opinion. Yeah, a lot of people think that too, Social Butterfly. You're not the only one. Because, again, it's been said that, the trash video has been checked out or whatever, but we don't know that for sure. We never got to see it, So I think it's open for speculation until we have something to go off of, It's just my opinion. Yeah, remember CP 12 to 6, somewhere in there. Now, then he says 3 hours and 37 minutes. Okay, sounds right, CP. Well, and not only that, he told that to Nina too. He said that Sebastian went missing sometime between those the hours of 12 and 6. He told that to Nina too. He said that a couple of times, and that's a very specific time frame for somebody who wasn't in town and doesn't know anything about what's going on. And who went to bed with Katie around midnight and got off the phone with her. I agree, Sasha. I agree. Completely. I did see the Silvers video. I did see that. I think you're right too, Mom. And a yellow coat looks like the solo searcher, in my opinion. Sure does to me as well. Definite side eye on the solo searcher. Absolutely. I believe it was too, Sasha. Very premeditated, in my opinion, in the Sebastian Rogers case. Yeah, that's the conclusion that I came to, but that doesn't mean that I still don't think that there could have been a possible accident, small percentage-wise. I agree, Sasha. Yeah, and Wells, but Lily and Jack are crime of opportunity. It's different. Abduction, my opinion, real abduction, familiar. Yeah. And I mean, at this point, I'm still very open when it comes to Lily and Jack's case. I really am. Oh, that's interesting. Social Butterfly says a combination of odor-absorbing materials and techniques like wearing clothing that is already well worn and has a strong non-target scent, or using masking scents like strong non-target odors in an area, or where you want to be invisible to the dog. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you may even be able to throw the scent off in that regard as well. Absolutely, Social Butterfly. That's such a great point. Town Chat Cafe says, in my opinion, I don't think the green heart has anything. Oh, green hoodie has anything to do with the shape of. Oh, sorry. Okay, I read that wrong. Town Chat Cafe says, in my opinion, I don't think the green heart has anything to do with the shape of the pond. If anything, it might represent Love's green tea, but it also has to do Freedom Church. But yeah, in my opinion, it also might be in memory of Sebastian. Yeah, it very well could be. I just remember seeing something within the last couple of days where they said it, somebody, and I don't even remember who said it, was saying that it was the same shape or resembled the shape of the pond, Ford's Pond. And they had kind of like a comparison. I mean, I'm surprised. The only thing about the green heart tattoo, that I felt was a little bit odd is that Sebastian's name wasn't there. But, I mean, I'm not a tattooed person. I don't have any tattoos. So, oh, great, Adam Forever 21. So good to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm not a tattooed girl. You know what I mean? Like, I had piercings. And that was my thing. But I've never been tattooed. So I don't know a whole lot about, like, how you would choose something like that. Megan L says, I think CP should call Unsolved Mysteries. He said Sebastian is like a ninja and went poof. Yeah. Tell that to Unsolved Mysteries. No kidding, Meg. Yeah. Well, they seem to have a lot of connections, in my opinion. Sammy says, I'm sure there's in some videos, but do you remember anyone seeing Yellow Coat guy going to the WC versus Green Hoodie going to the WC? Could one have left something for the other there as well? I did hear a theory about that, and I'm not sure. I haven't seen a comparison video on that, but that would be a good comparison to do, to see if maybe they left something in there for each other. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, going to the bathroom, could there have been an exchange with the yellow and green people? Very possible. Very possible. I'll have to look and see. Aw, little Reddo. Jack's so cute. All right, let's take a look and see. Oh, Kathy says, Lady Freedom, I think Ellie has determined that the Texas Roadhouse video too quickly. If it was not important, why did KP and SF go running to the Texas Roadhouse when Dog released the video? I agree 1,000%, Kathy. I mean, that's what really bothers me too, is that, because I do pause when people are too upset about something that's supposed to be nothing. That tells me that it's probably something, if that makes sense. And I agree. I believe it's either been dismissed or they kind of don't want us like speculating too hard, so they're just like, we're not going to say anything about it. And it could be kind of one or the other, but I do think it's important. I do. Just like the 3 a.m. lights, I find those to be important as well. But you're right. They wouldn't be worried about it if it was nothing, Well, I always wondered that too, Sasha, if they were using food as punishment. That's a good question, but I don't think he was allowed to eat much. 113 to 120 pounds, 5'5". He's supposed to weigh 145 pounds minimum. Sebastian was very hungry. KP knows it. All she does is talk about food. Yeah. Well, and then stealing vegetables before she could cook them. I mean, that's another thing. I don't know. See, I don't know, Tanya. I don't know about. See, that was. Yada said that, but then Chris retracted it, and then we never heard from Yada again. So I don't know if that's true or not, you know, if Ellie knocked the door down on KP's relatives or not, looking for Sebastian. Yeah, exactly. Sammy says they definitely have some kind of something on their wrist. Kind of wrist lights, everyone out there, and their earbuds. Well, and I mean, we did show that the lights from the Apple Watch could be really, really bright too. Aw, that's awesome, Carla. Okay, let's see. I think so too, Sasha. I think he was hungry. Let's go ahead. I want to play this short video. Well, there's two that I have for Lily and Jack tonight, just to kind of switch it up a little bit here. So here's the first one, and this has a little bit of dispatch audio. Like I said, I'm going to pull some more in from Plunder, but I don't want to play her whole entire video. I do want to kind of pick out some of the more interesting pieces, you know, that she pulled out of this audio from the dispatch. So here we go.
I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time.
Lily and Jack Sullivan are still missing.
Basically, there's not much else to say other than the search for Lily and her brother Jack continues here and around these woods, in these deep woods in the Lansdowne area.
No idea. I had no idea. I'm still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. Happened to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up, and I tell him, my partner Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone.
She has no phone reception, but she does have photo of the two kids. The 6-year-old is the girl, I believe, and she's wearing pink. The 4-year-old is wearing some blue dinosaur boots. So, yeah, I think that's all we kind of have right now. The drone operator is still on scene with the mom, so.
Just make sure mom stays close to the house there in case they happen to sneak out and get back into the house.
So we've got this troubling case out of Nova Scotia, and I was up all hours of the night doing research and just trying to dig through today all this dispatch audio, hours and hours and hours worth of dispatch audio out of Canada. It's regarding the two missing children, Lily and Jack Sullivan. I've heard some pretty interesting things over the dispatch from Friday, May 2nd. That's the day that the children were reported missing. So I wanted to dig and dig and dig and see what I could find. So far, the most interesting thing is that one of the authorities is telling another, the dispatcher is saying, make sure the mom stays close to the house.
Just make sure mom stays close to the house there in case they happen to sneak out and get back into the house.
Make sure the mom stays close to the house. And that's exactly what did not happen. And I'm wondering why. So, Lily and Jack Sullivan were last seen on Friday, May 2nd, 2025. So it's been 6 days. Today is Wednesday, May 7th. And that's kind of scary to think about. Young children being missing this long.
When the veterans do the call this morning and they haven't been seen since then, I need to get a good statement and figure stuff out. Corporal McGinnis, can you copy there? I think your corporal's spotty. Was that you I heard on here that was going to do a search of the residence again?
Audio.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. They were going to do the property and the residence again.
Copy that.
Property and the residence again. Copy, and just for everyone's awareness, based on the profile, the children could have traveled at least 6 kilometers. So, keep that in mind.
Sergeant Young, for your awareness, their media release has been put out in a non-intrusive alert as a sent out for Pictou County.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, guys. So, I mean, again, a special thanks to Plunder for digging for us here, with this dispatch audio. So, again, we kind of hear from the parents, Lily and Jack's parents. So, Dan Martell says he's searching and he's waiting for information. I still don't have a really great read on Daniel. I mean, he comes off as genuine, but then there's some more audio that I'd like to go over even on tomorrow's live about Daniel and his statements, because there are some very strange statements that come into play that you wouldn't expect from a father of a missing child, and then also waiting for information from who, because you're the ones that have the most information out of anyone, even the dispatch, right? Because they're just hearing all of this for the first time. But again, there's a very inaccurate timeline at play here, and I just don't like the timeline. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not adding up, right? And that's what causes us to pause and have concern here. And then again, we see Malaya over explaining, setting the stage for an abduction, in my opinion, right? They were outside playing, but we weren't able to hear them. They went out the door, but the door, we can't hear the door, that sort of thing. So not even allowing for the interviewer to ask another question to follow up, just offering up that information, over explaining, in my opinion. Another thing that I found to be very interesting about this audio is that it is said by the dispatcher that the mother does not have phone reception. So there's been some speculation as to whether she possibly could have driven up to where she could have gotten reception. It's also very odd, again, her not having phone reception, because there's a lot of things that can come into play and nefarious circumstances, even with jammers and things of that nature that we've talked about in the Sebastian Rogers case. I'm very open right now, as I said before, but the fact that she didn't have phone reception and that she may have had to leave where the kids originally went missing from, again, very cloudy. We do know that these calls are coming in around 10 a.m. But then we also heard Daniel say that he called 20 minutes after the children went missing, again, how would he know this? Hey, Bubby, good to see you. So again, I'm keeping a close eye on both of the parents and what they're saying. In the dispatch, they also said that the drone operator was on scene with the mother, right? So with Malaya, they were on scene with her there. The dispatcher advises that the mother stay close to home. And that's just in case the kids come back, right? Because they very well could have come back. And, maybe they were just out too far into that wooded area because it is wooded around the home, right? But then there's also that main road there. And I do have to point that out just really quick here. To show you all how close to the road the home actually is. And we can see it right there, right? But then everywhere else is wooded. And we saw that thanks to Plunder and her Google image, right? That she kind of went over with Google Earth and showed us. They also said that they were going to search the residence again on the dispatch, right? So they were already prepared to research the home and make sure that, the kids weren't in the home. And then also, based on the profile, it stated that the children could have traveled 6 kilometers, up to 6 kilometers, and I'm guessing that is a radius, just my guesstimation. Thanks, Bubby. I'm so glad you're here. And then I also saw Texas Plain Jane. Hey, Texas Plain Jane. Good to have you. Good night, Kathy. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, don't let those horses out. Well, I hope you can get it all fixed up. I know everybody's had some bad weather. It's just, we've had all kinds of bad weather. Well, yeah, I agree, Sasha. Yeah, because in the Wells case, it blew up so quick and the perp panicked, and that was it for summer. Yeah, absolutely. It did blow up really, really quickly. Well, and I think it's okay to give them a little bit of time to investigate because, they scaled back, they investigated here, and then they started the search back up. Social Butterfly says they say the kids wouldn't cross the road. In my opinion, I'd cross the road and search. Well, absolutely. Yeah, because just because you think the kids wouldn't do something doesn't mean they wouldn't, right? If they get curious, if there's something they see across the road, maybe there was like a kitten or something and they thought, "Oh, we just run across really quick," and you know, um you're right, not if the children are abducted, Sasha, and that's still a very open possibility. Um Well, that's true, Texas Plain Jane. And, sometimes people live in the RVs and they're just kind of hooked up, willy-nilly to the house and things like that. I'm not sure how that worked, but that's such a great point too, because we do have 2 other people that were on property, 2 other adults, right? Which would have been Daniel's brother and his mother, right? That lived on the property. Um, Well, and see, too, Sasha, with the school starts at 10. See, and I've heard that school starts at 9 there. But even so, I think the timeline is off as well. And then also, it was said that Lily was going to stay home with a cough. And so they also kept Jack home. So they weren't intending on going to school, allegedly, according to kind of what, they're saying. Yeah, that's true, but Bubby, and no pictures, actually. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't seem like they ever got the pictures over to them. I don't think so either. Um, well, and the boot print, that's true, Sasha. Remember, Lily grabbed her backpack, and the boot print is in the front door, the front of the driveway. I believe they heard something at the road, but they're holding that back. Well, and that's a strong possibility. We all know that Lily can really, really scream loud, right? That's another thing that was really shocking to me when we watched the video back of the birthday party. And I mean, she could really, really, that sound could really, really travel far. It was high pitched, right? Um, and then wouldn't any of their animals have been alerted? Any of the other family members on the property, even in an RV, it's pretty thin. You can hear things that are going on outside. Um, well, and Sasha says that's why as soon as they couldn't find them, it's called my speculation. Yeah. Ah, thanks, Bubby. Yeah, just call me Lady Freedom. Lots of tornadoes, yes. Ann says, I heard that the bus driver said that the last day he saw the kids was April 28th. Yeah, and what did I have did I have the 28th written down or the 29th? I know there was like a holiday, right? And then the kids didn't go to school, and then they decided to keep them home. There's a lot of things to attract them across the road, I'm sure. Oh yeah, and even if it was like their favorite animal, right? Like say a little bunny walked across the street, or something that they liked. Bubby says, but in my opinion, I think that they got dressed and saw a visitor that they knew, and Lily went to tell her mom, and they left with that person, in my opinion. And that very well could be so, because we do know that it's alleged that they had a lot of people kind of in and out, right? So the kids could have been like very used to having strangers or different people being in and out. And if somebody that had been in the house before, say, drove up that the kids were a little bit familiar with, they could have said, your mom and dad asked us to take you to school or something, and they could have been tricked. Or again, I mean, an old tactic would have been like, oh, my dog's missing. I'm looking for them. Can you help me? Something like that. And if they weren't equipped to deal with something of that scenario, they might have gone with. Aw, Ladybug. Bubby, that's cute. But I did want to show you this other clip that I uploaded, guys. And this is just kind of going back to what we're talking about with a possible abduction. But here's what the neighbors are kind of thinking, with it coming into, I mean, this week it'll be 3 weeks on Friday. So, but here's another clip here.
6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan went missing almost 2 weeks ago. People who live here say they are horrified and they want answers.
Well, the mood of the community last week was more of hope, tension, apprehension, waiting for good news. And when that good news didn't come, I think the mood has changed to one of sadness for sure.
When Lily and Jack Sullivan disappeared on May 2nd, more than 160 searchers scoured through 6.5 kilometers of wooded area near the home where they disappeared. The search was scaled back last week, but the investigation continues. Pictou County Warden Robert Parker says everyone is waiting daily for good news to be delivered by the RCMP.
I think so far patient. Not everybody, but the majority are patient at this point.
The Sullivan children both attended this nearby school. Last week, there was a public meeting held to provide information and offer support for families in this community, especially young people.
Am I safe at school? Am I safe anywhere? And we have to, as parents and as adults, assure our little ones they are safe, and we have to make sure they are safe.
CTV public safety analyst and former OPP Commissioner Chris Lewis says an investigation like this can put a strain on the entire rural community.
Because everybody either knows those children or knows their parents or know their grandparents or all of the above.
The RCMP are pursuing multiple layers to this investigation. In a release, they said they have received more than 180 tips, and they will continue to interview people in this community until they find out what happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan.
Okay, guys, so, tensions are high. They explained the mood at first was hopeful. There was a lot of tension, but there was also a lot of nervousness or apprehension, right, involved. But it also quickly turned to sadness when there was no answers and when Lily and Jack did not turn up. 160 searchers were said to be out there, and they scoured an area of 6.5 kilometers or kilometers, um, and they just scoured that area surrounding the home where they went missing from. And then they scaled back the search and kept the investigation going. But then now we also know that they've also ramped up another search, and have been searching. It is said that the RCMP, which is the Canadian authorities, for lack of a better way to explain it, said that people are trying to stay patient, but the public is also worried, right? Because we have the little kids who went to school with Lily and Jack, and they're wondering, are they safe? Are they safe at school? Are they safe playing outside? Just a lot of uncertainty. And they did do a public meeting to show support, and also to kind of bring awareness, right? And, they brought up a really great point as well, just speaking to the fact that it's such a small community. And it's said that in this area, a lot of people are related to one another, right? Because it's a very rural kind of close-knit community. So a lot of people know each other on a personal level here. And they said they're going to continue to interview people and find out information, which I really think is the best thing that they can do at this point. And just kind of keep on gathering information, but still keep searching, right? Because those woods are very dense, and they also had wet conditions that they were working under. So that can also cause a lot of issues, right, with the search, and just, being able to do a more accurate search. And unfortunately, we don't have any more answers. When it comes to the polygraph testing, we still haven't heard much more on that. But I'm hopeful that the Canadian authorities are doing the best that they can to, um, find Lily and Jack. Oh, really, Sasha? Can you look up the missing persons case involving Brian Ward? That's the bus driver. He's already been involved in missing persons case before. It's an article. Oh, okay. I did not read that. Safe at school. I mean, Sasha, we're not safe anywhere, and us true crime people know that, don't we? You know? Um, Bubby says exactly what I heard in the YouTube streets, that the whole family knows, and that they had a party, came across Dog Fat and Dan Bro, and Dad hid the little ones, and it breaks me, but they're saying that, in my opinion. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, and it just looks really, really strange, that whole, their yard, where the kids were supposed to have been playing, that pen that's back there, Bobby. It's so strange, who's that familiar that took these kids? Well, and it really could have been anyone. It really could have been anyone, Sasha. And that's what they need to go back and interview all these people, whoever was hanging out over at the house, in my opinion. Um, oh, you think they may be in a mine cave, Bubby, and that's really possible. The hunter's blind. I know, Sasha, but it just looks so strange. I'll show you guys this. This is just, I mean, it's weird to me. This is kind of inside the hunter blind that we kind of dubbed the hunter blind, but then they were telling us, and they told the news that this was, where they kept the kids, or excuse me, where the kids would play, rather. So it's odd. Really, really odd. Oh, they did clean the yard, Bubby. Then they even cleaned the yard. You didn't see that. No, and I mean, I'm not saying I didn't think their yard was a terrible mess or anything like that. Not like some of these you see with, like, it hoarded out, and things like that. It looks, I mean, maybe a little cluttered in the front, but I mean, it's not too bad. We've kind of seen worse. And, they have the outbuildings and that sort of thing. Just kind of a couple aerial views. But of course, and we mentioned too before, this is where they were said to have gone out, and again, we have another, two parents that are insisting that this is the door that the children left out of, but they are again saying, but they're not sure, and they were, half asleep. But there's another little staircase over on the house as well, and there's another door that they could have gone out of as well over there too, in a separate kind of little porch. So, just really interesting. Bobby says, I feel the children are under the tarp on the roof of the trailer. Well, and that very well could be. I don't know what all they have searched too, repair it, paint it, come on. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Maman. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is so sad. And it's just strange. It's just a strange set of circumstances, right? And there's kind of really a possibility of an abduction, in my opinion, here. But then again, we're not seeing and hearing normal statements or really even maybe actions from the parents in this situation too. So it's just, I don't know, it's strange. It is weird. I was alarmed at first. Yeah, it is alarming. And we can see that all of these I agree, Sasha. We can see in this case that, the authorities are even saying that they don't know that Lily and Jack are even still with us, but that doesn't mean that they're not, I mean, again, we just don't know. But I do suspect foul play in this case, whether it's somebody who abducted the children or something else. But I will look up that article too, Sasha. Bus driver Brian. Yeah, because that's interesting. I mean, in such a small area, you wouldn't expect to hear about that as much. And I don't know about that being a huge coincidence either. And, I also wanted to give you guys a quick update on Crystal McCrory Jones's case as well. And let me just change our background up here just a little bit. Yeah, so Crystal McCrory Jones, and we've covered her case here on the channel, and we've also had her sister up, Jana, has come over too and talked about her sister Crystal's case. Just recently, we found out that there were discrepancies in the toxicology report where it was missing a page, right? So thanks to AI, Jana was able to find out that there was a page missing in the tox report. And when she received the actual tox screen back in that with the missing page, it was very clear that there is no way that Crystal could have inflicted this gunshot wound on herself because of the amount of other drugs in her system, one being Benadryl. So very, very high and toxic amounts of Benadryl in her system. And so I wanted to just kind of update you all on that. And we're going to also be doing another live talking about it, because I think it's really important that we examine this, because there was so many discrepancies just within the preliminary paperwork. But when it came to the entirety of the autopsy, and then this missing piece to the toxicology, I just have to say that it's really mind-boggling to me, and I'm baffled when I even think of the level of corruption that would have to exist for this to occur. We're talking multiple agencies, right? multiple entities that work together to form these very important and medical and historical forms. It's just, I mean, it drives me bananas because it's very clear to see. And again, I don't like to expose corruption on any level, but to see the corruption in this case is just absolutely the lengths that they went to conceal information, especially from Jana, who's been working tirelessly and diligently to bring justice to her sister and her case. It's like, how many red flags or how many, red arrows do we need pointing at this until somebody's going to say, you know what, we need to do something about this. There was a definite injustice here. And there's no way that this woman, this beautiful woman, Crystal, would have ever done this. She was about to be a grandmother. She had tons and tons of things to live for. Her sister, her nieces, and again, she had just passed her board exam for her licensing through State Farm Insurance. So yeah, absolutely, Mom. And it's absolutely heartbreaking to me, because I certainly wouldn't want someone in my family, and I certainly wouldn't want myself to be at the mercy of my husband, who has law enforcement in his back pocket because he is law enforcement, or he was at a certain point, you know, in the position to blame me for my own life being taken at the age of 43 years old. It's just, and if I said it doesn't sit right with me, it would be an understatement. It just really would be. So I'm going to put something together for us to talk about this too, and then a recap, because I know it's been a little while since we've discussed Crystal's case, but I've not forgotten about her. I think about her every day. I pray for her every day. She just recently had a heavenly birthday, May 17th, I believe, 2025. So, she's just always in my thoughts and prayers because, many of you know my story. That could have been me, and really, when we think about the way that domestic violence works, it could be any of us, right? Any of us could fall for someone who's super charming in the beginning, and then once they have you roped in, or once they get you quickly into a marriage, then all of a sudden they change, and or they actually show who they are, is more like it, the mask drops. And so I'm, again, just baffled that this could ever happen in this day and age with the technology that we have. And again, across agencies, medical examiners doing wrong, right? In state-of-the-art facilities like in Arkansas. It's shady as fuck. It just is. And I don't think any of us should stand for it, because again, it could happen to any of us. In my opinion, getting to know Jana and getting to know who Crystal was as a person, because I didn't get a chance to know her. She deserves it least of all, in my opinion. Just a wonderful person. It's unfortunate, and Tony Jones, her husband, was only questioned for a very short amount of time, and it was case over, and they ruled her passing as self-inflicted when there was not even any gunshot residue testing done on Crystal, right? And in Louisiana, it is a crime to take your own life. So they, in my opinion, needed to treat the crime scene as such, right? But they did not. So Well, and I believe that that is, something that I definitely side eye to, Bubby. I work in renovation, and it looks like a trailer that they do take care of, in my opinion. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It does. It definitely looks like it's in working order. It does. Sasha says, "Wait, I will look at this." And her mother fighting for justice. It's her sister Jana, and I have a bunch of videos too. Where we've talked about Crystal's case, and so, but I'm gonna work on something together because I did pull one of our first lives that we did down, and I'm working on cutting it up into pieces and replaying it and posting it because it's very important to me. And I think that it's something that we just cannot overlook, and there's a couple of different petitions that I will also link to. One to reopen Crystal's case. Her cremains were wrongly transported to her son. And, we've talked with Jana about that. She let us know what was going on there. So it's just very, very important, just for everyone as a whole. And that's what, in my opinion, Jana does every day, advocating for her sister. She's helping other family members navigate through her book that came out. And just, because there's not a whole kind of path carved out, really. There is, but we don't know about it. And that's what makes it really tough. And when you're dealing with a traumatic situation, sometimes you don't know what to do first, rightfully so. So, but we are not done talking about Crystal's case. Yeah, I agree. Michelle says if your babies are playing in the yard, at least make sure it's not a magnet for hazards for them. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Well, and especially if you're going to be sleeping and they're playing in the yard, I just don't think that's safe either because anything could really happen, especially being that close to the road. Somebody can pull in quietly, sneak up. I mean, anything could happen, and it just happens so fast. Um, Sasha says, my money is on the bus driver. My opinion, speculation, allegedly. Who is this guy, Lady Freedom? Please deep dive this guy. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sasha. Yeah, so we have Sheriff Scott Matthews, right? In my opinion, poor scrutiny. We also have Deputy Chuck Harris, who performed a welfare check. So just really quick for a recap on Crystal's case, Crystal McCrory Jones was married to Tony Jones, who they were only married for 5 years, right? He had a daughter. Crystal also had 2 sons, right? And they were a blended family. They also owned a karate studio. And Tony had it before. And when Crystal came in, it was a night and day difference, right? Really, the way that Tony was running it was in a very creepy way, in my opinion. And I have a lot of kind of internal speculations about Tony and his nefarious acts, especially because he was linked up with Deputy Chuck Harris, who, in my opinion, is and has settled out of court with a young woman that he groomed from a very young age. And ultimately raped, in my opinion. And sometimes those things happen and it's settled out of court, and that's what happened here. Sheriff Scott Matthews is very good friends with Detective Alan Irby, who was the person who questioned Tony Jones the day that Crystal passed away. Now, Deputy Chuck Harris found Crystal McCrory Jones in her bed and was led directly to her bedroom by her husband, Tony, on a phone call that was not called into law enforcement, but on a cell phone call from Tony Jones to Deputy Chuck Harris. And then there was a very short interrogation done, if you even want to call it that, by Detective Alan Irby. And it was basically, in my opinion, and I have them all linked up on my lives, right? And I've also posted some videos too. I'm going to work on getting things a little bit more organized with playlists, but in my opinion, something happened during the day around 11 a.m. is the time of death listed on the death certificate, and that's per Louisiana, right? On a formal document. I do have that in the videos as well, where I show you all that. We also see a Google timeline of Tony's location and history during the day. So we can track Tony's movements through that. And again, that's attributed to Jana's awesome investigative work, because she was able to obtain that information off of Crystal's laptop after her passing. And so we do have a lot of hardcore concrete evidence, in my opinion, in Crystal's case. It's just really pushing it and getting to the bottom of what really happened, and then also finding the evidence, because Tony and his timeline stopped matching up at a certain point when the bakery barn comes into play. And I've had a running theory about the bakery barn. Again, I've made the videos on it, but we're going to revisit it because that would have been a pretty healthy time frame if someone helped him get over to the home, and it would match up with when he was in town, as well as his movements through Google. I do believe that he left his cell phone in his vehicle at the bakery barn, or he left it at the school where he was doing maintenance on the school equipment that day. And so it could have even happened a little bit later than the 11 o'clock time frame. But again, we're going to deep dive in, and we're going to also bring in this new evidence too, because again, it's amazing to me that people would just coincidentally get this much information wrong. And if you go back and watch my videos about Crystal McCroy Jones, you will see that there were many entities, as I said, the court, from the police who were on the scene, to the coroner, to the medical examiner, to the funeral home directors who asked Crystal and her family to please take pictures because things weren't adding up. Her entrance and exit wounds were on the opposite sides, and on the wrong side of her head, and they were also conducive with her using her non-dominant hand as well. So just a whole lot of conflicting information, Bubby says in the trailer looks like they haven't been renovating, plus the sideboard looks rusty and heavy, and no child can lift a rusty sliding door in both condition, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, Bubby, and I agree with that too. I mean, and too, if it's rusty, they're going to be able to hear it, right? It's going to be like really creaky, and like it needs WD-40 or something like that. Absolutely, that's a great point. Anne says it's in one of the videos that I sent you about the bus driver being in a missing child's case. Oh, thanks, Anne. I'm so sorry. I must have missed that link. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Tony Jones. Yeah, he's in law enforcement. Sorry, guys, I just missed my spot there. Meg says, Bubby, if you close out the chat, you'll be able to see the join button. Or right. Oh, yeah, I know. Sometimes they hide those. I don't know why they do that. Bubby says, let me tell you something. I have a nice life. My mom had 3 jobs, and basically I was the mom. I went through all of that. Thank God, and I'm alive in it. was my brother and all the people, but I'm at peace and good. I'm so glad to hear that, Bubby. Absolutely. And, we all go through hard times. That doesn't mean we're not going to make it out of the other side. And, absolutely. Yeah. And it just makes us stronger, right? And then we have more experience we can share. And, yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing, Sasha. I wish we could exhume Crystal's body. Tony Jones made it a point to rush everything, right? So even down to the beautician at the funeral home who had already had people who they needed to take care of. So Jana and her sister-in-law went with makeup and, Crystal's outfit that she was going to wear, and they did Crystal's makeup, right? So, and that's when they were alerted to these irregularities, that I've shown before. And then it was a mad dash, in my opinion, for Tony to cremate Crystal. And that was against her family's wishes, right? But they had nothing really that they could do about it because Tony is Crystal's next of kin, and he was able to call the shots, which is very unfortunate, it's important to kind of put our wishes into a will, and then that way that can't happen you don't think about those things when you're 43. I certainly don't, I'm Crystal and I are the same age, and it's just unbelievable. Sasha, I put it all in my videos too. I put it all in there. Dr. Peretti was the medical examiner. He also has ethics violations up the wazoo. There's probably evidence we could get from, I wish we could do it. Yeah. I don't trust any of it. I don't trust a darn thing. And it's because there's so many discrepancies, and I've shown all of them too. Visually we have those in this case. That's what's really mind-boggling. Bubby says, and I live in a nice neighborhood in Florida, South Beach, and anything and anywhere, mother and father should show her kids awareness and don't leave them alone. Yeah, because you never know. Absolutely, Bubby. And it doesn't matter what kind of nice area you live in, really, too, because sometimes predators will come into a very nice area where people have a false sense of security and safety. And, that's when something really tragic can happen, or they can get snatched up. And, I agree. Thank you, Social Butterfly. Thanks, Maman. Maman says, I'm looking forward to hearing more about Crystal's case. Definitely deserves to be turned into an open doc case on criminality, in my opinion. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say that whenever I first took Crystal's case, I wasn't in the mindset of thinking, heads or tails either way. I wasn't thinking to myself, I'm going to find corruption in this case. I was actually thinking the complete opposite. And I was thinking, what if I go over the information that Jana sends me and I have to tell her that I think that her sister actually did inflict this upon herself? And it was very difficult, right? Because I was almost afraid to look at the case because I knew that I would be going into it with a fresh set of eyes. But when I received the information that Jana shared with me, the evidence was overwhelming to show me, and that's just as I went through it all, that she did not do this to herself. There's no way that she did this to herself. And when I say overwhelming, it's just overwhelming. Like, there was no room for me to be like, well, maybe. Like, it's just bam, 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 bam. One mistake after another, and the shady way people were acting and sending, even though I was told by someone a close friend of mine who works in funeral homes, right, and has done embalming and all of that, and she told me that it's not uncommon geographically for a body to be sent from Louisiana to Arkansas, that Arkansas has state-of-the-art technology when it comes to autopsies. However, I was also told that she thought it was shady. And that says a lot for someone who, you know, works in the industry and who is already going to, you know, be on the side of, you know, we do these things professionally. There would never be any type of, you know, she even said this is shady, you know, and that was good enough for me. I just wanted a clear, you know, answer either way from someone who works in the industry, you know. Yeah, open, yes, criminal investigation. Absolutely, Maman, absolutely. I think there really needs to be, you know, and it's just a small area. I think there's more involved, you know, and that's the whole problem. You know, there's just so many people involved. And, you know, I don't put it past Chuck Harris to do something like this for Tony Jones. That's another one of my working theories, that maybe Tony Jones was just going about his day. Maybe Chuck Harris helped him out in this regard, but I definitely want to get to the bottom of this. And then, of course, this new development that we've, you know, kind of had out, but then I saw it was confirmation, and it was put out, and then I feel comfortable talking about it. So I would love to deep dive with you guys about that. You know, because an injustice anywhere needs to be examined, right? Because if it could happen to one of us, it could happen to any of us. Yeah, Sasha says, what did Crystal know about these people? That's our ticket. What did Crystal know that could hang them high? If we know that, we can have everything she wrote down anywhere. Yeah. I honestly believe, and, you know, again, we did discuss this in a previous video too, that Crystal was doing research on her husband, Tony, right? So there were dating websites that he was involved in. Does that make him an unaliver or cold-blooded unaliver? No, it doesn't. However, it does speak to some of the things that could have been told to the community and made Tony frowned upon if there was a divorce or something happened and people started asking questions, right? Because they did own the karate studio and everything like that. There were also other things that had come to light in terms of Deputy Chuck Harris's relationship with Tony. And again, I did deep dive into that. And a lot of it comes back to some of the things that were happening within the karate school and parents pulling their children out of the program because of the odd behaviors of Tony Jones. And we did highlight that just a little bit. Of course, it's all alleged, in my opinion, and just based on the research that I've done independently, as well as the research that had been shared with me from through Jana. You know, but again, it's all speculation. Sasha, yes, I believe so. Very inappropriate behavior, in my opinion. Social Butterfly says, in my opinion, I believe that there should be a whole show on missing people on TV each night of missing flyers to keep all the people's faces out there. I agree with Social Butterfly. That would really help build awareness, wouldn't it? And then keep bringing up new cases and old cases. Yeah, absolutely. And I think people are interested in it, again, because it's like, if it could happen to one, it could happen to any of us, right? And even the feeling in that small area of Lansdowne, Nova Scotia, up in Canada, they are feeling it, right? The kids are like, you know, where's my classmate? What do you mean they just went missing? Where'd they go? Could that happen to me? Am I safe? You know, it absolutely raises questions, you know, and rightfully so. Yeah, absolutely, Sasha. Definitely go look. And I'm gonna try to. I'll do a playlist tonight out because that shouldn't take me long at all to do that. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night because we're gonna continue to cover all of these cases. I really love hearing your feedback, your insight, questions, things that I might have questions for you all. Did you guys hear this? Do you know who said this? Things like that. I think it's really, really important. Um, yeah, absolutely, Sasha. Thank you so much. Because I know that you love to deep dive into things, and I know that you think outside of the box. We really could use that. I mean, every little bit helps, and then it could take me into a different theory as well, or solidify kind of what I'm thinking. So I would love to know what you think, especially surrounding the bakery barn. And again, like I said, when he goes to work at the school, because there is a good amount of people that could have seen him, and then he leaves his phone there, and then he takes off really quick and comes back, right? The whole entire scene was staged, and I do have crime scene photos there. I did block out a lot of it because I think that we get the general gist of it, but there was also post-mortem bruising that I'm told that the embalming fluid will bring those more into light or make them more visible and things like that. So, but I think it's definitely worth looking into, and I'd love to know your feedback as well. So, and then we're also working again, like I said, on another cold case. I don't want to spill the beans on it just yet. I'm still waiting for kind of confirmation, because we're working behind the scenes on that as well. So I just really want to bring you all these true crime cases. Also, please, I'm telling you guys, you will not be disappointed. This, especially if you really like to kind of look at a whole puzzle and kind of pick it apart, right, with different people's stories and how they come into play into the larger picture. This documentary is a must watch, right? A Deadly American Marriage. It's like a 2-hour thing, right? Hour and 42 minutes, well worth it. And this case has been wrapped up, right? And we do have a verdict in this case, so definitely go take a look at it. It's satisfying when we have that closure, which we typically don't get, right, with documentaries. Typically there's still some more pieces to it and different things like that. But it's always good to remember that there are powers that be that are watching these cases and making sure that justice is served in one way or another. Sometimes it's justice that we are seeking, sometimes it's justice that someone else is seeking, but when we can kind of see these things play out in the courts, it's really interesting in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, Sasha. Never disappointed. God's hands moves. Yes, absolutely. And we all just got to keep praying, for everyone involved in these cases. But thank you all so very, very much. Thank you. I'll text you, Miss Ann, and you all stay safe out there, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you all so very, very much. And I'm going to be on later on tonight, but earlier. So, because I realized I went on after midnight tonight, but I appreciate you guys. That's right, Sasha. I pray law enforcement has the passion we have for the victims and justice. I believe most of them do. I really do. And a lot of my motivation, and I look up to a lot of law enforcement officers. I do, Sasha. Even though I give them a hard time, even though there's some that I don't like Sheriff Scott Matthews, Deputy Chuck Irby. I don't like these guys, but I also know that it's important to have good officers who do want to seek justice. Thank you, Town Chat Cafe. Oh, you know what? And she is not my daughter, but she is, I guess she calls me Aunt Trisha, but we could say, definitely say prayers for our Lily. And that's her in the bottom corner. She's just as cute as she can be. It's a beautiful smile, but yeah, she's going through chemo now, for leukemia. So thank you so much, Town Chat Cafe. Thank you. I appreciate your guys' warm wishes and everything. Thank you, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Thanks, Mom. And yeah, Sasha. Yeah, even Mr. Snuggle Struggle over there. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Yes, Town Chat Cafe. I think it's because I said prayers for our baby. But it's just because I used to take care of her before I moved out to Florida. So kind of from like the summertime and then all the way up until I moved. And she was always getting sick and they were taking her in and they couldn't really pinpoint it. But now they do have a diagnosis and they're really working hard to get her, into remission and things like that. But it's a long road ahead. Just precious, sweet kiddo. Only 2 years old. So, thank you. Thanks, Sasha. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much. It was so nice to be up here with you all. And thank you so much for being here.